Anthony Simonsen here, and you're watching the 2018 Gene Carter's Pro Shop Classic title match. Myself bowling Matt Sanders. Um, yeah, I was pretty fortunate to be in this position. 2 games left in match play. Not exactly sure how far out of the show I was. Got a little gutsy and decided to throw it back up. Was able to put together, I believe, 240, 260 the last 2 games to go from 6th to the #1 seed and guarantee myself bowling for a title match.
There's so many gives and takes in this sport. And that time, Sanders takes down the 7-pin as we saw him miss one in that match.
I think I would have to say this is probably one of the more nerve-wracking first shots coming out into a title match, being that I did decide to go ahead and stick with the backup. I bowled a match play on this pair, or position round on this pair, against Matt Sanders. Put together the front 8 to bowl 260. So I made it a little bit easier to decide what I was going to do, being that I've already bowled on that pair, throwing it back up, and it felt pretty comfortable, being that I switched to the backup in game 10 on that particular pair as well, and struck 3 out of the 4 shots, and then was able to strike 10 out of 12 shots on that pair in the position round game. First shot was a little shaky, and then kind of getting myself back comfortable.
And you look at the overall ball motion as compared to
I kind of felt right there with that shot. The first one's always a little shaky, but that was one of the better shots I think I threw that entire match. And just kind of letting Matt know, like, I'm here. I'm not just goofing around. I'm here to be serious doing this.
So it will roll differently with him backing it up.
And I could only imagine the thoughts going through Matt's head. Knowing that I've already beat him one time on this pair of lanes. Doing the same thing. I think everybody would say, it's definitely no way you're not thinking about what I'm doing in this situation.
I think we're in for a great championship match.
Just watch that ball ease, and it's that different motion that your thing gives a player that can be a big advantage. And it's not for everyone.
And if I remember correctly, I was actually kind of going back and watching the show myself. Listened to you guys talk about well, he struck quite a bit on the left lane, I believe is what it was. I wasn't really going with what he was doing because I don't ever want it to be in their hands. I want to get up and just take care of what I need to take care of. So that's why I went ahead and chose what I thought was the better lane for myself.
So to me, it looks like it's hooking a little earlier. So it could be that he just moved up closer to the friction.
I think on this time, me and Matt on that left lane are both battling a little bit of early friction. He can't really decide whether he needs to try to throw it through it, move his feet right, or what. So, just kind of try to fill frames. And being in this situation, knowing that he hasn't had a double yet, through 3 frames, I'm already off to a double. I just kind of want to keep the pressure on him and stay in complete control of the match.
You really have to know your equipment.
One of the reasons why Anthony Simonsen also went to the backup bowling ball is
it's kind of different. Whenever I was actually doing this, I was concerned about tripping myself on the ball return when I was bowling on the right lanes. Just because even though I'm throwing it back up, I still am having a little bit of drift to the left.
A lot of people go over the gutter cap this weekend, and they were hooking a lot. So, I think you're right about the gutter or the ball return. But Anthony Simonsen starting off with a front 3 in this championship match.
It was quite funny talking to Jim Callahan after the title match. He was with another Storm staffer, Fran Lau, and he said, we've bowled for quite a few title matches in our day, but I've never gone into one not knowing which side of the lane my player's going to compete on.
Breaks at the split.
That was a combination of a bad shot and the early hook that I believe we're
It-
both
it
seeing
takes
on
a
this left lane.
tremendous athlete to develop the
Fortunate
skill
enough
set
to
do that in such a short
get the
amount of
7-10
time.
out of there and just leave a makeable spare.
And how does he shoot the spare now?
Yeah, typically, if he's doing the backup ball left-handed, if he leaves a multi-pin spare, I imagine it would not be a typical spare.
So I know,
for
you know,
right
even with
players
that bad
to be
shot,
facing.
still got
What if he
a
goes
9-pin
left
advantage in the
and
match.
5-6? Because there's, I mean,
So
even shot possibilities.
sit back down, regather my thoughts,
I can't imagine
keep
that
the
would be
breathing
an
slow,
issue
and,
with that
and just
spare.
get focused on the next frame coming up.
Sanders now down 19. But this has been the lane he's had no problem striking on today. And that should be good.
Another great shot by Matt on that
And
lane.
again, let's see if he can figure out the left lane right now to get his first double of the championship match.
And at this time, you got to imagine he's trying to think, you know, what do I have to do to be able to strike on
He
this
could
left
hold that
lane?
pose all day at the line.
Ring and 7-pin,
If you're a
6-pin
young
on this
player
next
watching
shot.
frame of flow bowling, get that balance locked in.
It's so important.
You never see a Go Bowling PBA Tour player fall off a shot when they throw it well. To get the deficit back down to 9. 5th frame.
And
As
it
you
looked
can
like
see,
he
that
preferred
one
the right.
hooked early
Ball was
again, and
looking a little
you can
stiff on
visually
the
see
left
the
lane.
frustration on Matt's face and in his body language with that lane causing trouble.
From Simonsen being on that side, and it's not happening.
You know, I don't know. That's not typically I've never had that thought before. So
It's so unusual right now where you're thinking, you're looking at the line that Simonsen's playing, and he's kind of crossing. He's outside at the beginning, but he's inside when the ball really doesn't have a break point for Simonsen. It seems to be playing so straight.
you're right. I mean, though Matt Sanders is throwing urethane, his ball is hooking much further down lane compared to Anthony Simonson's.
And you just see he's
At this point,
puzzled right now.
I'm still
left lane.
you know, taking my time before my shot, but I'm trying to get up there as quick as possible.
He only has 2 more chances.
And, you know, really just keep applying the pressure.
19, the lead
Not really
is
give Matt too much time to think about what's going on that left lane.
strike in the 5th.
Flat 7 for Anthony.
That one was decent shot. Looked like I just didn't quite catch it all the way at the bottom, so it never really got up the hill. Nothing to be upset with. You know, make the spare, and knowing that Matt still doesn't have a double through 5 frames.
From backup ball to your regular spare release with a little rotation.
Little concern on the spare shot there.
Dust it off.
As you can
That
see, it
would, like
kind of
you
messed with
said,
my head a
he
little bit.
points to
You know,
his brain. You gotta know what you
there's a
wanna
little bit
do
of
before you get
self-talk
on
in
the
there.
match.
I was thinking to myself, oh, I haven't missed a single pin spare all weekend, and then I kind of got up there, rushed, and was fortunate enough to make the spare, and that's why I said you gotta get that out of your head. It needs to be good thoughts, because generally, I think most guys out on tour would agree with you. Once you're like, oh, I haven't done this in a while, somewhere in the next few frames, you're bound to do whatever you said you hadn't done.
Stay up by 18. And now he runs into a 6-pin.
That was a pretty good shot on this lane. I guess my second shot on that lane was just
The wall of
that
champions
pure.
here at Midcounty Lanes.
I'm starting to see the same thing Matt's seeing, a little bit of early friction. And me, being that I've thrown it back up a few times, you know, in other particular events, but obviously not as comfortable making moves as I would be if I was bowling on the right side of the lane.
For all the fans here on Friday
I'm really got some thoughts going in my head. At this time, I walk over and talk to Jim Callahan, our ball rep. Tell him what I'm seeing on that lane, and we kind of discuss what the idea is for the next shot on the left lane.
Just pencil Sanders in for a strike on this lane the way it's been going. Problem is he's down 17.
And I'm sure at this point Matt's thinking, you know, now it's a 7-pin match. If I can get up, throw a double, put a little bit of pressure on,
Because he knows he's got
it'll change
room to
the
miss on
demeanor of the
14,
match.
and you're just off that fraction on 13, and it's a 7 or a 6.
And he's made many moves, I'm sure, on the left lane. But the ball keeps reading sooner and sooner. on 13. I'm sure he'll figure out a way to get this ball to face the 1-2 the right way.
It's not exactly a mandatory strike here in frame 7.
I think this is one of the most important shots of the match for Matt here. Like I said, if you put strikes here,
Right,
puts a little bit of
that ball
pressure on me.
was hooked.
That one I can't really tell if he,
Fine line sometimes
you know,
with
just tried to
keeper, things
move
are
everything
switching
a little
messages,
left
but
and throw it a little bit harder.
It carries the ball
Um,
down.
or actually, it kind of looks like he moved right
Too much
and
front
tried
part
to give a little bit of room to
you
get
have
it
to
through that hook spot, and
into the center part of the
just
lane.
kind of got a little too far down the lane before it tried to
If
make
the
its
carry
shape.
down, you open up your angles and it hits the carry down. It's not going to hook.
It's never fun, you know, not only in a title match, but never being able to figure out one lane when your ball reaction is so good on the other lane.
And Simonsen wasting
You know, you try to think to yourself, oh, how can it be so much different?
Out of reach.
You know, topography could be a little different.
Sanders can strike up for
Could have thrown,
216.
you know, could have been a couple
Great
more
start
shots in that area,
for
that part of the
Simonsen in
lane.
game, and that's
Different
2-7.
stuff adding up. With that open there from Matt, I know you got 216 Matt.
Last couple of shots.
I want to put a couple strikes on the board and really just try to fill frames.
Simonsen he doesn't have another ball to go to if this one stops working. Works there.
Great shot. High flush.
See, I like that one a little
Right
bit.
lane.
And that just seems
Telling
to
myself,
work on the
you know,
ball.
another good one right here. Get a double on the board,
Just to be able to
and then,
cover
you know,
these
mark,
down
and the
points.
title's yours no matter what happens.
I mean, it just proves what a great competitor he is.
You know, and we mentioned that this pair is 42 feet long. That
It's a little
ball is
different not knowing
44.
which
It's
way
42
to
foot
step
long.
out a shot,
Just goes to show that
being on the other side of the lane.
patterns, if
Try
you're
not
going
to,
way
you know,
out,
trip
you'll
over
see that it
myself
flips
and
on the bowling
do
ball.
something silly and cause myself to foul, or, you know, anything crazy like that.
Seems like, or is that more of just
Don't pull, you know, Martin Larson tripping over ball returns.
He does still have rev rate for going back up, but it is nothing compared to his regular release.
So on this shot, I tried to move a little to the left and throw it harder.
Fortunately for
The reason I moved left is just because the ball shoes can be a little faster. I was going to try to get it through the front part of the lane.
Yeah, you can see the front part of the lane.
Caught it a little bit more than I think I wanted to,
On that
and
lane.
you know, fortunate enough, kick out the 10, the 7 and the 10 late.
Looks like Simonson's trying to
Leave a
control
makeable
ball
spare.
speed, and Matt Sanders did it by moving his feet further right.
And knowing that, you know, what I felt like was my comfortable lane,
I'm sure that's
get back up and make a good shot there and set up the 10th frame. There's a little bit of concern on the spare. You don't always have to knock it all the way over. You just got to hit it hard enough to get it to fall over.
Follow through.
Matt knows at this point in the match it's a must-strike situation for him. Being that when my ball didn't get into the pocket, I was fortunate enough to leave 9. Knowing 216 is max score, and at that point, I don't think anything. He knows that nothing less than that's going to win the match.
Hooking sooner and sooner as well.
Good break, getting a messenger to come across and
For the 8-pin, but a great shot
keep his
nonetheless.
chances alive.
Head pinner to the 3-pin came screaming off the sideboard.
So at this point,
8-pin.
I'm sure what's going through Matt's head is,
Figure out the left
you know,
lane.
put the other 4 frames behind us,
Set himself
get up here and you know, do what I practice to do, make a good shot, and hope he gets the result he's looking for.
It needs some
And
help.
at this point in the match,
Oh, I thought he hit
Gets
some
it.
help. Wow.
I can't really tell that shot if
Trying to figure that
that was
reaction out
you know, a
right
bad
there.
shot or something that he didn't think was going to happen.
But it's still hooked early.
Obviously, he wasn't the most comfortable on that lane,
And it just sat in
Um,
flush pocket.
so I can't really tell if that was a good reaction or a bad reaction. But now I know he's got the double up, and I know what needs to be done coming into these next 2 frames to secure the title.
Let's see if Anthony can shut him out.
Here, I'm just thinking, you know, just make a good shot, set yourself up.
That.
Looks good. Great shot.
That was one of the better shots in the match. Here, I want to take a re-rack, kind of slow everything down, and knowing that a strike wins it, and any spare and a strike is also a win.
Get his mind right.
So I just want to get up
This next shot, whether
and then
it's
make a good shot. I talked to Callahan again about what we were going to do on this lane. in between
Even spare
the
strike, he will lift.
8th and the 9th frame.
20 in the 10th.
And it was kind of the same thing. I told him I
He gets that
was
strike,
going to
he's gonna
move
go
and I was
right
going
up
to try to throw it even harder.
the 10th for sure, keeping the ball in the lane.
Uh,
Spare 9, there's a
just
punt.
because I didn't want it to go high and split and give Matt a chance to step up and take the title.
Oh, no.
Just
This is gonna be
missed a
really
little bit at the
nuisance
bottom.
attempt on the
And,
lefty bucket.
yes, it is a
On this
six
early
count,
hit,
but not losing any
he
pin
has a
count
pin
on the
lead
strike.
that Simonsen will
So at that point, I know,
should he lose
leave that shot
the
behind you,
one, he will
make the
typically
spare,
shoot.
and then let's regroup for the fill ball.
He's going with polyester at it, which means he's probably going right up the right side.
Callahan also made a
Aggressive
comment
move right here.
These are
whenever I
not
left
shots
this.
that
I
will
looked over to
affect
Fran
the
and said,
title match.
"How's he gonna make this? He's probably never shot at this in his life." And I actually
Dead
though.
I lined up the same way that I shoot the bucket on the left side of the lane, and drew the same angles, just a little bit different starting position. So making the spare was obviously the most important part in that situation.
Similar
Now I'm
to
trying to gather my thoughts. I know that a strike here secures the title, and really all I'm trying to do here is just make my best shot and see what end result we come away with. No matter how the result is, I know that if I made a good shot there, I did what I'm supposed to do.
Anything else? Gives Sanders a chance.
So I think that's pretty good, and
Great
I think for the 2.5 or the 3.5 games that
Matt
I
Sanders on
threw
the
it back
lane.
up, that
He
was,
has kept
I want to say,
striking
the
on.
only ring and 7
Now
pin
has
I
a
had.
chance to throw 3 more
So
and force a
it was kind of a little bit of a shock to see it, but
What a final
I
lead.
knew, I made a good shot. I did what I was supposed to do. I couldn't lose the match in that situation, forcing Matt to have to step up and throw all 3 in the 10th. And, at this point, I'm preparing myself, regrouping mentally to get ready to go into a 1-ball roll-off. You guys are best in the world, so, you're just expecting them when they need all 3 in the 10th that they're going to step up and take care of it. That shot gets a little left for Matt, and I think that's why it gets just a little behind the head pin. Leaves the 7 pin, and I'm able to come away victorious here. When that happened, I took a look over to the right. Ball reps, a couple other people sitting over there, and the look on my face, I think, was probably priceless. I was just so in shock that, I just threw it back up to make a title, or to win a title. And not really knowing if it's ever been done before, which that's not in my mind at this time. It's just, it's a surreal feeling. It had been a while since I believe it had been about a year since I had won. Gotten close a couple times this year. So to finally secure the deal doing that made it a well-deserved win.